of all the NBA teams. So
Oh,
I can have that discussion with you.
okay, great. Hey, everybody, we're live. Just maybe about a hair second longer than I intended because Leigh was informing me of something that's actually germane to this discussion. Leigh, great to see you, first of all, and congratulations on a tremendous Sunday with Tua Tagovailoa leading the league in passing and Cooper Rush beating the AFC champion Bengals with the Cowboys. And congratulations on the award you received as well. I believe it was on that Saturday. You've been quite busy. Yeah. Yeah. I can't keep up. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great. Things are great. That was a fun football weekend. It started with Mahomes on Thursday night. And I'm not sure about that Amazon deal, though. The nature of pro football and the fact that it expanded the way it did was the fact that anybody with $80 who could buy a black and white TV could watch games for free. And the expansion to streaming networks to charge an additional fee is may cut down the audience. So, for example, tonight I can't watch the game because I don't have Amazon.
Oh my God. So you're stuck then.
I'm just saying that they always knew that.
Hey, everybody, listen.
If you took one event like the Super Bowl, that you could do a really massive amount of money with making people subscribe to it. But on the other hand, you'd cut down the market in a way that that was very difficult. And it's been the ubiquitous nature and the universality of football content that has largely led to its saturation as America's favorite entertainment source.
Hey, real quick, I want to share with you the video that I made because I was so livid over this awful live stream that we were subjected to last Thursday. This is me basically losing it in, so.
You know that's staggering you here? It's Amazon Prime. It doesn't work right. And the NFL has us watching this exclusively as opposed to a standard channel that's free. Okay, on cable. All right? This is ridiculous. The quality is horrible. Yet they're sticking us, they're throwing this crap on a sham of a broadcast look like it's legitimate. You hear that? It's annoying. Doesn't that bother you? It's ridiculous. Okay? We're not looking at this.
You get
I'm mad as hell and not taking it anymore.
Oh my God. No, I cannot believe Roger actually greenlit this. And I tagged on that video, I tagged Brian Rolap, the league. Good guy. I like Brian. But he's responsible for this thing.
What happened, fortunately, last week is that for the two cities for which that is their primary team, in Los Angeles, you could watch the game last week on Fox 11, and you could watch it because of the Chargers, and in Kansas City, you could watch it on their Fox station. So for those two cities involved tonight, they will get it on Fox the way, or CBS the way they normally would get it. But that's not the rest of the country.
Hey, so we're gonna now shift gears and talk about something that is painful, shall we say. Robert Sarver was forced to sell, someone would seem, the Phoenix Suns. I was talking with Leigh about this in preparation for this discussion. I happened to find a press conference that the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, did ostensibly today. I can't play it for copyright reasons, but I can say that it presented a reporter who asked a very good question why this punishment is different from what an employee would get in terms of being fired. And in the middle of explaining or giving his explanation, the commissioner said that, well, basically said the sale wasn't something that they could engineer and force, or whether, excuse me, he said that he didn't say that. He said that the time required to do that is extensive. Not that he couldn't do it, but basically he led everyone to believe that it wasn't him that did it. Now, what do you think? First of all, for those who don't know the story, Robert Sarver apparently has a long history of inappropriate behavior in the workplace. Am I right, Leigh?
That and from what I read, it seemed like there were also racist comments made and different vernacular. But whatever it was, they did an extensive discovery into it and came out with conclusions and then punished him. But my own suspicion, and it's not based on anything, so allegedly, is that what really the league wanted was not to have him as an owner. And so what his punishment was, I mean, remember, these are billionaires, so you fine him $10 million or 20 or 30, it doesn't affect their lifestyle. But what they really wanted was not to have him as an owner. And I'm sure that extensive pressure was put on him behind the scenes to sell the team. But if you want him out as an owner, don't publicly tell everyone in the world that this proud man is being forced to sell his team, because he'll push back and do something that might be destructive. So I would guess that behind the scenes, they gave him a more graceful out. But the net is that an unacceptable owner won't be in the league.
How is this like and different from Donald Sterling?
Well, I don't know the precise facts, so I can't make a comparison fact to fact. But the reality was that both of them were owners the league didn't want, and both of them were gone.
Yeah.
And so if you read LeBron James' comments or anything else where he said he was proud to be part of a league that recognized these issues, then it would strike me that there's a public reality, which is they gave him a fine and suspended him for a year, and there's a private reality, which is that they must have believed that even if they had solved that, there was no way he could come back as an owner anyway. And the contrast that people are drawing is what happens in the NFL if they find inappropriate conduct, and the answer is not much.
Yeah, and I said inappropriate, I meant racist encapsulated within that, because he is alleged to have made a comment that if Draymond Green can say the word, I don't like to say it, then he can say it too, and he kept saying it. And I can say I've been in that situation before, and all my life, I'm 60 now, and I will say this, I have never believed anybody, regardless of color, should say that. I've told someone who's black not to say it, white, it doesn't matter.
It's interesting. My father brought us up, and I couldn't, if I tried really hard, get that word out of my mouth. Yeah. In other words, it was, we were taught when we were like 5 years old that the one thing you could never say was that one word. And so I can't, if I tried really hard, I couldn't get it out of my mouth.
And not only that, I remember maybe this is, I don't know if we're wired in such a way that if we have the right parents, the goodness comes out even at a young age or what. But I remember I was 6 years old, and we had our neighbor, Henry. This is when we moved over to 7908 B South Kimbark in Chicago after my mom and my father had divorced and separated and divorced, which actually saved my life, but that's another story. Anyway, Henry's Polish. And I had never heard of Polish jokes. Someone started telling them to Henry, and I made them stop. I was 6. I was 6, but I just inherently knew.
But you already got it. You understood that tolerance means being careful on offensive language, and doing that just separates people from each other. And you don't. What's really funny is that I've worked in a profession where the players have been predominantly African American for like the last 50 years. And you can tell the difference really quickly between a black that's comfortable around whites and a white comfortable around blacks. I mean, it's just the chemistry. It takes you 2 seconds. And
my life.
And a lot of that comes from real life exposure to people of different races and everything, because you don't think of them racially, you just think of them as your friends or people, and later on adults pollute that whole thing.
Yeah. And I'm curious to know, is it because my mom, who will turn 88 on the 1st of next month, October, is convinced, well, we're racist and that's it. And I said, Mom, we're making progress, and in the past maybe stuff like this happened and no one did anything about it with respect to an owner. I mean, don't you think this is progress? I mean, I think this is progress.
Oh, totally. Are you kidding? When people make the argument this is the worst time in America, worse than the Alien and Sedition Acts, which put people in jail in this free country for making remarks the president didn't like, worse than the Civil War, even worse than the 60s, where parents disowned their kids and white blue collar people wanted to kill students. I mean, we've gone from if you're having an honest discussion about it, we grew up in the cave, and we're brought up to fear the other, whether it's another tribe or another whatever. But we've got that wired into us, and it's helpful to have experiences that defuse that, and
reduce our anxieties, huh?
Well, I once did a study of violence in America when I was back in college, and I looked at the horrible things that happened. I mean, still in all, I'd rather be in this country, but it's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better, and where it's not, where the rise of white supremacists and other people, then we have to act. And I did that training program where we trained 10,000 people to be the leaders in the fight against white supremacist skinheads, go into crisis situations, go into schools and promote tolerance. So we all have a responsibility for fighting to make it better.
So now we're in the situation where Robert Sarver is going to unload his team. What kind of impact is that going to have on NBA franchise value in general?
So the Suns are the 18th highest valuation among NBA teams, and that figure they're valued at is $1.8 billion. The highest value team is the New York Knicks, and I think they're about $5.8 billion. And then it's the Warriors, who are over $5 billion, and the Lakers, who are over $5 billion. And those are the three premier franchises. Now, I would guess that it will cost more than $1.8 billion for Phoenix. And here's why. That city in the Sun Belt has gone from being a major American city to being, depending on the way you look at it, 4th or 5th largest in the entire country.
Yeah.
And so it's not as big a market because outside of Phoenix, you have Tucson. The population of the rest of the state is not that huge, but it's a huge city with a booming economy. And I'm going to guess that I don't know if it's 3 billion, but they're and I'm going to get he's going to get a huge boost.
You think maybe it's not outside the realm to think maybe 3 or 4 billion when all is said and done? I mean, will it come close to the sale of the Broncos, or where do you think it'll
fit about it? These franchises don't come up very often.
Right.
They just don't. They're a unique. There are 1 million millionaires in this country and a large number of billionaires. Is it a high percentage of the population? No, but it's a big number. And, they may have made their fortune in pig iron. And all of a sudden you have the chance to have something that's profitable and really fun and puts you on the cutting edge of what's happening in this sports crazy country. So sure, I could see it being bigger. It depends. It's all supply and demand. So if they get multiple bidders on it, that pushes the price up. Or you get someone like the Stephen Ballmer of the Clippers who just says, okay, the valuation of this might be $1.2 billion, but I'm paying $2 billion because I want it and I have money.
So let me get this straight because I'm putting this on Twitter. You're saying that the Suns sale could fetch, not necessarily, but could fetch more than $4 billion.
It's possible. Now, you have to look at the revenue sources. Mm-hmm. So the thing they lack is a big market. So I'm sitting here in Newport Beach, and the 5 counties that make up, or 6 counties that make up the LA TV market have 17 to 20 million people in them, depending. But you can pick up Los Angeles television in Los Angeles County, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ventura, and it even stretches below Orange County and then becomes San Diego. That's what you have in basketball is 62 home games in the preseason, so you got a lot of product. You don't have as much as and so that becomes the key. How big is that television contract? And that's not a national TV contract. It's done locally with some sports channel or network. So that will be the biggest single factor. It's going to be more than $1.8 billion, but you're going to have to show the revenue. And look, it's a popular team in a market that has baseball, basketball, football, but they just have one team. I mean, here in Southern California, we're like Noah's Ark. We have 2 of everything.
That's a good one. I like that one. So given that we now have pegged that on Twitter at Zen62com, you can see Leigh's my update on my interview here. But let's say the Suns do fetch $4.5 billion.
Well, I think that's too high because of the network. But whatever it is, he will have reaped a extraordinary return.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're talking about people who are billionaires in the first place, and not owning a team where you're in the spotlight and the cutting edge and in the middle of it is a big punishment, because there's nothing monetarily you can do to punish that owner. That's really, I mean, if they punish Dan Snyder, he's a multi-billionaire. And remember, these fines are not the difference between whether or not you bring a boxed lunch to work or ride the bus for an owner.
But work with me here, because when I was at not that you're not, of course, but I'm just saying, euphemistically, when I was at the Atlanta NFL Spring League meeting this year, I saw Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and his son Stephen and Charlotte, great people, by the way. And I reminded him, Jerry, when he and I had that conversation about gambling and sports and the Cowboys while he was emceeing the Raiders sponsor party in 2019 during Consumer Electronics Show on behalf of Mark Davis. And I said, So we're looking at something like 10 billion, right? About the Cowboys. And he said, yeah, it's about, and that's, we were having that conversation. I said, do you remember that? He goes, yeah, I remember that. Just like that. So we are at that point where arguably the Dallas Cowboys, if they're ever sold, would, or if Jerry just wanted to play around for a minute and try to sell it, they would fetch 10 billion, right?
I think so. And you have because they have a cachet, even though they haven't won big time in a while, they're still the Dallas Cowboys. And it's a football crazy market, and there's a ton of big cities in Texas like Austin, San Antonio that don't have football teams, but they've marketed themselves. They've created a brand that does deals with Carnival Cruises and does deals with the Dallas Cowboy Travel Agency and everything else. One other factor going forward, I believe that parimutuel betting,
yes,
into stadia and arenas.
You're a step ahead of me. Thank you.
So look, there used to be this impregnable wall between gambling and pro and collegiate sports, but that cow is a long time out the barn, and you've got NFL groups owning part of DraftKings. You've got casino betting up on the sponsor boards. And you're going to be able to go into SoFi here and bet on everything from who wins the coin flip to who scores the first touchdown to who throws the first complete pass. I mean, you can parse a football game or basketball or baseball into hundreds of bettable components, and they're going to get more revenue from that.
On that note, still related to all of this, though, there are two initiatives on the California ballot regarding sports gambling. What do you think about them, and do you think they'll pass as much as you know?
If you live in California, there is an occasional food or automotive ad on television. There are nonstop. I've seen 500 commercials for 26 and 27, and there is no possible way a rational voter could have any idea what they're doing. Oh, it's small tribes against big tribes. Oh, this one does homeless. They're all backed by gambling interests, and nobody has any idea, because if you watch commercial TV, you will for an evening you'll see 25 commercials with them going back and forth, and it's so confusing. So before the election, I'll spend some time and figure it out, but it just seems to me it's two big sets of gambling interests that want to parse it their way.
Now, do you think it'll pass?
26 or 27? Right now, I think people are so confused that, again, because you're force-fed. This one only helps the big casino tribes. This one won't really do anything about homeless. This one will change homeless forever.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like,
I have no idea, but right now I'd vote no on everything, because it sounds to me like it's going to be another one of those things like the lottery, where the amount of money made is prodigious. The amount that will actually go back to homeless or any other good cause is very tiny.
Vasu Vadapati, who's on my program here, writes, great to see your interviews, Zenny. Looks like I tuned in at the right time to talk sports gambling. Hi, Leigh. Nice to see you in this format with Zenny. Vasu's a great guy. And so he's just putting that there. And he says, hi, Leigh. Yes, on Proposition 27.
There it is. There's the answer I've been waiting for.
Then he follows up. He says, 27 should be yes. No on 26. IMO.
that's as good as any advice I've gotten on the thing. It is so confusing. They spend so much money. You have to do before the election. I'll do due diligence and read up on what the real interests are. There'll be newspapers making recommendations, but it's the one winner in all of this is the television stations in California, because they're getting a bonanza of nonstop ads. And we're still 50 days away from the election. I mean, this was going on 2 months ago.
Hey, have them steer some of those ads towards Zenny 62 Media. We're a California news organization, well, California focused at least. We're actually a Delaware company, but that's another story. Hey, not shifting gears, but actually related to this and tying this together too. I don't want you have a new division of your company focused on action sports. Talk about that.
Well, basically the concept in today's market is, can you aggregate talent in football, baseball, basketball, hockey, team sports, and tennis and golf, and boxing and mixed martial arts and UFC and Olympic sports and action sports and on and on and on? Can you put all that talent under one roof? And then can you build a big marketing machine that puts together sports themed entertainment and television and video games and a variety of different things? So it's just a natural extension. Back in 2000, I was bought by Asante to build out the same thing. And I bought another football agency, and I bought a hockey agency, and I bought a basketball agency. So the concept, that's where the CAAs and WMEs and Wassermans of the world are at. And they're trying to put as much talent under one roof and then make money from endorsements and content on television, content for movies and podcasts and on with the right supplies. So that's the vision. And we have a great young CEO, Chris Cabot, who's pioneering this, but that's been the state of the art in sports representation for probably 20 years.
I was at the culinary kickoff party in Miami in 2019 and at the guitar hotel. And I had the pleasure of meeting 4 gentlemen who owned significant percentage, major percentage of Sports Illustrated, Bleacher Report, basically. And I want to thank Bon and Bo for introducing me to them. But I say that because we talked about how the valuations were changing for a number of properties. And in one particular sense, they were really going down. I'll just say Sports Illustrated is really taking a dive. I asked that question. I say that for this question. Why not the next frontier be agencies like your agency purchase these publishing organizations? It seems like the natural next step because they're coming down in value.
And I think you'll see that. Talking about sports, I went to an event some months ago in Dallas for the Dallas Fuel esports team. Mm-hmm. And sitting there in an arena that had like 7,000-8,000 people, was packed. And out comes this team, Dallas, and they're playing Houston in esports. And they're playing, I can't remember what it was. It was Minecraft, one of the video games. And there are 8,000 people. They are not playing a video game. They are watching these people compete in a video game. And they're screaming and yelling like those e-gamers are rock stars. And I said, I've seen the future. Oh my God. It's, and all of a sudden they're teaching esports at universities and offering credit in it. And they're going to have teams. And I'm like, I've seen the future. It's these gamers are totally committed and totally crazed. I wrote an article on a guy named Ninja.
Yeah.
And so they put on, in my office, they put on an e-game he was playing. And it's a Tuesday afternoon, and there are 320,000 people watching him play this game. And I said, oh my God, do they not have jobs? So it was revelatory. So, you got an era where more kids are skating than playing Little League Baseball and the esports. So you have to pay attention to the trends.
And you have now name, image, and likeness. And how do you see that now that the college football season?
It blew up much bigger. I thought it would be big, but you had Phil Knight. It was not just football quarterbacks. It was he did a stipend for every student athlete at University of Oregon. You had Jack in the Box giving 25 contracts to athletes with the first name Jack. But the biggest thing that changed was you have collectives of alums who are hardcore and who like the program, and they've come together and pooled their money, and they own businesses and they have jobs, and they're using that to attract people in recruiting. So now all of a sudden, you come to SC and we're going to promise you $2 million in NIL revenue. Wow. So that was an unintended consequence.
Wow.
But that cows out again, same as before. It would mean that if I don't sign for NIL a high school football quarterback, and if someone else does, then I may never get a chance to talk to him about professional representation. So it pushes earlier the age of when you would meet a client. And golly, at this level, having spent the last 50 years doing this, I don't know, that would be quite an adjustment. But you were talking to their parents really about.
How far down does this extend? Does it extend, like, for example, can a women's softball pitcher?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, there were two female soccer players I think we signed that were 14.
What?
The restrictions are gone, and again, California passed SB 206 about 3 years ago. Every other state got scared because California schools would have a recruiting advantage. The NCAA could have forestalled this by giving more money to athletes from disadvantaged homes. They didn't need $1 million. They'd have been happy with $10,000. But and now it's here, and it will change forever the dynamics.
But it seems like, considering, I just have to say this, the number of women that are in shape and work out that have these Instagram profiles that have hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're playing sports, it seems like now they can actually really cash out on their image in a way, combined with their sports exploits, they've never been able to before, right?
Yes, because the currency of marketability and what an advertiser looks for is the amount of followers someone has on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and various platforms of social content. And if so, it's just who's attracting the eyeballs. And I always thought that women in Olympic sports could be very marketable because volleyball and gymnastics and all the rest of that. And they compete in an international event.
Now, if someone's watching this, how should they contact your organization?
Well, for the aero sports component, it's steinbergsports.com. And if you want to reach me, it's Leigh at steinbergspeaks.com.
Leigh at, just write this down, folks. Speaks. That's a new URL, isn't it? Really new?
When I said hello about posting, I said all I know.
I got that right?
I wouldn't know. Yes.
I got it right. Good. We're not far gone yet, Leigh.
Well, fortunately, I have a whole group of younger people who grew up with every part of this and can. I was on a plane the other day, and I'm sitting next to this really young kid who's doing all these complicated things on an iPad. And I asked the mother how old he was, and she said 3. This kid has social networking skills that dwarf mine.
Yeah, give him a tablet.
You can see where the world is.
I remember I had the blessing of being at the launch party for Twitter and a number of platforms that are still normal today. And I feel like I'm warped because even though I'm 60, my base is, below half my age, which makes me feel kind of weird. But given all that and the changing nature of work, the closing question I have for you, out of interest for your time, is how does all of this impact the agency? And here's where I'm going with this, okay? And because I'm playing this out of my mind, given something that happened recently, I happened to see a position that I thought was interesting, and I thought, well, I'm always hunting for clients unless I'll give them a shot. Had to fill out a credit check online, which I've come to find out isn't unusual, but I lost the email. And I thought, I got to find this thing, right? So I couldn't find it for whatever reason. I've been working on servers and all this jazz and, up to my blanking code and all this stuff. And so anyway, I thought, hey, I'll call the company. The company, the young lady who answered the phone, she sounded young, said, we don't have that position. I said, oh. I said, well, this Trisha Davis was the hiring manager. We don't have anybody that works for us by that name. I said, are you aware that this is posted on LinkedIn? And then I looked at it again as I'm talking to her. I said, there were 200 applicants, Leigh, which means some percentage of that 200 applicants were phished for their information. And where I'm going with all of this is that the nature of work is changing, but exactly what is going out there economically? Are we being, do we just have to turn around and make our own companies to create our own work now?
Well, data is what has value. And it's the search for data, the ability to reach you, access you, figure out what you like, what you don't like, what you'll buy is a big business. But I'll give you a better one.
Yeah.
So on Facebook, I get a friend request from Diane Lane.
Ah, the actress.
Who's an actress.
I interviewed her. Yeah.
Well, so, we engage back and forth, and she tells me she's in Munich Berlin to film a new series and sends me the trailer for it. And we go through back and forth for a couple of weeks, and she knows a lot about me. And I said at the start, is this Diane Lane, the environmental activist? And I said, yes, I am. And so she's engaging me back and forth and back and forth. So this goes on for a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden I get a request that says, we're having such a great rapport. I just hit a little bump in the road that maybe you can help me with. We ran out of film, and frankly, I'm on a time crunch. If you could advance me $10,000, it would be boom, 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 boom. And I guarantee you I can pay it back. And we'll do so with interest. And, this is a burgeoning relationship, and I already feel like I can trust you. And so it's clearly written by a woman who knows men's psychology. And then the topper was, and you can send it by Bitcoin.
Ah!
So I realized this is not Diane Lane, the actress.
Nope.
But can you imagine somebody that their whole business is reaching out and hooking people in and then creating a false reality and looking for a way to derive cash from it?
Like Manti Te'o, but without the cash, right?
Oh.
In his case.
Yeah.
It's scary what's going on, Leigh. Hey, by the way, as a close, what initiatives do you have coming up that you want people to know about?
We're doing an agent academy in Las Vegas, November 13th, 14th, 15th. So if you want to learn how to recruit, if you want to learn all those different skills, go to steinbergspeaks.com. We've had great success with the people we've trained in the past, going on to occupy good positions. I've aggregated a whole bunch of healing modalities. I think we've talked about before in hyperbaric oxygen and stem cells, and a brain training program called RTMS. So first of all, to help athletes show more productivity at critical moments of games and hyper energy. Second of all, to return players quicker. Third of all, to deal with TBI and concussed brains in a way, I've been campaigning on this forever. And then take these products out to anybody over 40 who wants to have neuroplasticity and faster recall and memory and mental processing. There you go. I'll turn you on to them.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, if you need a model too, I think I think we got it. So,
well, if you got it, Jenny, flaunt it.
Hey, all I can say is mRNA in the virus vaccine works. Leigh, I'm gonna close you out. We'll talk more in the back. Thanks for your time. A lot of fun. Remember, folks, don't forget SteinbergSpeaks.com, Leigh at SteinbergSpeaks.com, and a hearty Go Bears.
We almost beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, we almost beat. I'm almost tired of the almost at one point. It's just whatever.
One thing to say: one Rose Bowl before I leave this planet.
Yeah, you, me, and Mike Silver.
Trio, we can meet at the bar of the
exactly
typical hotel we'll be staying in. I'll see you.
All right, hey, stick around in the background, folks. Leigh, or anyway, I was going to say stick around in the background. He's got what he has to do. So anyway, thank you for joining us, folks, and we'll be back with more actually at 7:00 Eastern, which is 4:00 on the West Coast. I have Oakland District 6 council member and mayoral candidate Lauren Taylor on. We're going to talk about what he's seen on the campaign trail, and we're going to have a special focus discussion on Howard Terminal. All right. Subscribe to Zenny62. We'll see you. Well, folks, I forgot to do one thing. I actually forgot to end the broadcast. It's been that kind of day. We'll see you in about an hour.